Dick has been involved in every single year since I was getting very, very nervous about that.
It's close.
But first of all, I sincerely want to congratulate the folks at the DPW for their great work in the recent storm that we have under the leadership of Stephen Calla. Congratulations, you deserve it. An interesting story about the relationship that I've had with Dick Dimes and his lovely wife Marge as well. When Dick had decided, because of working relationships and the need that he had to stay probably a little bit longer at his work, he gave me a call. And he said, Bob, he says, I think you'd be a good guy to run for selectman. And I'd like to see you, take over after I leave. And so it's interesting to know that a Republican was responsible for a Democratic Speaker of the House. And it's such an interesting relationship, because you throw all that aside actually in terms of party and whatnot, because later on in years, as we got into, I don't know if you've ever heard about the, nominating Citizen of the Year and whatnot in this community. And the guy that I nominated each and every year was Dick Dimes. Because I honestly felt that there was no one, well, maybe except for myself. No, that's a joke actually. No one who's done more for this town than Dick Dimes. He is what you call a true legend. And as I look and I see so many folks, and just brings back so many memories being involved in town government, and how fortunate, that I was to really get my basis right here in the town, I think, which prepared me very, very well for the State House. But I gotta tell you something. What I learned from this man in terms of sincerity, in terms of loyalty, in terms of commitment, in terms of knowledge, can never be equal. He's truly an amazing guy. The thing about the fact that over all these years, Dick Dimes always had such a great love for this community that he continued to serve when other people would have walked away. Dick, I can't tell you how much I respect you. I can't thank you enough on behalf of the people of the community. And I'd like to present you with a citation, which I gave you when you retired. Marge gave me the picture today. Boy, did I look a little bit different, buddy. And so did you, by the way. But it's my honor to recognize my congratulations to Richard D. Dimes in recognition of the dedication of the Winthrop Public Service Facility being named in his honor. And it's given this 3rd day of November 2012 at the State House, Boston, Mass., signed by the representative and the Speaker of the House and a proud friend of Dick Dimes, Robert A. DeLeo.
The good people, of course, were Republican. And the people that worked for my dad when he ran for election. The bad people, Democrats. And those that ran against my dad and worked for the people that ran against my dad. And this got really confusing at times. It seems very black and white, but it got confusing for someone my age because some of these bad people were actually the moms and dads of very good friends of mine. And I knew them, and they were nice. I go to the house, oh, Jonathan, how are you? And I come home, those are bad people. But of course, it was all at the political level. Personally, everybody was a good person. Now, let's see. Now, having a dad that was very, very important was very exciting. I remember even getting to take my first jet ride because you were involved with Mass Point, and we flew up the coast and come back. But it wasn't always a lot of fun because as a child of a very important person, we knew that if we goofed up in any way, the paparazzi was lurking somewhere and would tell everybody, and then we'd be in big trouble and shame the whole family and everything. And of course, that was usually my brother who got in trouble. And I'm only saying that because he's in Seattle and couldn't make it and can't defend himself. And it seemed like sometimes our lives were one big continuous election. My dad was always running for something. I remember being in the garage with my brother Rick and my dad and several others, probably many people here, Mr. Hubbard, no, certainly, putting together the signs, building the signs, putting those big garish orange vote dimes, orange and black signs onto them, and trying to pound them into frozen earth around the town, only to realize the next day that half of them were torn down. And it was like, then I knew it was really serious here. And then we'd have to walk endless miles around the town with these little 5x7 cards, slipping them in every mailbox. And then my dad, the horror, if you can imagine, Faith, can you imagine your dad saying to you, I need you to get some friends to help me do this? Oh, that was horrible, horrible. But you know, election night was always fantastic. It was always a lot of fun. Particularly when we would hop in the car and we'd have to drive to these far off states like Shirley Street in the Highlands to get the tally of all those hundreds of votes that were coming in. And then we'd rush back to the campaign office where my mom would always have baked fresh goods, and we'd await the final tally. And fortunately, my dad always won. Except when someone had the bright idea for my father to run for state rep as a Republican in a predominantly Democratic district against an Italian in a predominantly Italian district twice. And even as a young teenager walking through the streets of East Boston, door to door with my dad, I knew this was a completely lost cause. Now, eventually, my world got bigger, as did everyone else's, and I went off to college. And if you've ever been to college or you have kids that go to college, you know that there's nothing smarter in the world than someone who's 18 and 19 years old who just spent a couple of semesters away in college. And it was at this time, in my infinite wisdom, that I began to see that all this effort, all this good versus bad, all this fuss, all these heated arguments at town hall meetings, well, silly small town politics. That's all it was. I used to think it was the world. My dad hadn't been a king. He had been an elected official at a small community, the job that paid basically nothing. But then I grew up. I got married, I became a father myself, and I moved into a community similar to Winthrop. And then I truly understood what was going on. And what I began to realize is that in fact it was in these small communities where things get done. And that they only get done where there were passionate men and women who are willing to work hard for the good of their community. And my dad and my mother were exactly that type of passionate person. We aren't here today because of the silly things I just spoke about. We're not here today because someone won a popularity contest. Dick Dimes can be a stubborn man, as was already mentioned, and a stubborn father. Doesn't like to hear about other people's opinions or side of the story when it doesn't agree with his. But my dad is as passionate as they come. And he knows, and he showed me, that only persistence and hard work get the job done. And I know that if he stepped on toes, and I'm sure there's many toes out there that are bruised right now, that he did so because he was fighting for something that he felt was good for this town and this community. And he had a love affair with the town of Winthrop, a lifelong love affair that was surpassed only by that he's had with my mother, Margaret. For those who spoke before me have listed the numerous ways that he has given to the community. And I stand here today on behalf of my siblings, our wives, our spouses, and my parents' grandchildren, when I say that I am so very, very proud of both of you. And I certainly thank the people of Winthrop for this wonderful day and recognizing the work that my father has put into this town. Thank you very much. And now to the man of the hour, the man of the hour.
I don't have to say a word, do I? I never thought he had it in him. Very smart young man. But he can debate you very severely. But I have to congratulate you, Joe.
Show us about you.
You know, when I knew the day was coming, I spent all last week going through, like I think all politicians do, save all the newspaper clippings, put it all together to say something. Everybody has said it. But I really appreciate it. You can't imagine. And I break down easy, and I'm probably going to break down before I'm through. But I look out at you people, everyone I see has always helped me. And you're the backbone of this community, because I don't care what anybody says. Yeah, we have the airport, we have the island, but we are probably the best small town in the whole Commonwealth of Massachusetts. We've changed our government. It's coming along. Brought in the town manager. He's doing a great job. And if everybody, in this day and age, which is very hard to do, if more people would come forward, and as I look out, I see many, many people here that over the years were on committees that I were on. If today's generation that's now in the town could come forward and do the same as we did, we'll continue to be a great town. I was going to praise my wife, top to bottom. It's already been done. But Margaret and I have been married 65, we just had our 65th anniversary. We met in high school, and we've been together all this time. And yes, she can be very debatable. I would be leaving the house, and she says, you know, I know what you're thinking when you're going up to town hall, but don't say this, don't say that. And she meant it. But the one thing she was really involved in is the beautification committee. She was on the original beautification. And that's what she always wanted in this town, keep it clean. And I think Mr. Callis, Steve, right now is probably one of the best public works directors we ever had, because this town does look good. I really don't know how much more I can say, except that I'm very humble today. Appreciate, and you know, I appreciate all you people who have come. Tommy had told me yesterday that really we didn't get too much advertising from this. So when I thought, when we arrived here, I said, oh, maybe we're going to get about a dozen people. And you come through. And as I look over, you've all always helped us over the years. You're all good people. And I thank the whole town of Winthrop for giving me this honor, because I really, really appreciate it.